Alright, what's happening, y'all, man? It's your boy Rico from Street Scores, and we got to talk about some more of Week 2's OTAs, everything that went down today as in June 1st. There's a lot of standouts. There's a lot of interesting quotes. A lot to talk about. First of all, Chase Young's ACL update. Jahan Dotson looking explosive, looking uncoverable. Carson Wentz already looking better than any quarterback we've had here for years. The offense is looking better than the defense, period. And of course, we're going to go position group by position group. We're going to talk about quarterbacks, wide receivers, tight ends, running backs, offensive line, defensive line, linebackers, corners, and safeties. But we also got to talk about this recent news that also came out today that Dan Snyder and Roger Goodell have been asked to testify. Also, Landon Collins will officially be cut tomorrow. So what can we expect with that? How much cap space do we gain? How much cap space do we have? And everything else that went down today. And so before we dive into all of that, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell next to the subscription button so you get a notification immediately. And every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Again, we're going to start with the offense, go position group by position group, go to the defense, do the same thing, talk about Dan Snyder, talk about Landon Collins officially being cut. Of course, I want to bring him back, but for how much? All of that type of stuff. And then as always, man, shouts out to all of my sponsors because y'all are getting all of the film sessions. If you're not a channel member, go become one so you can get these film sessions. I'm going to start getting these back out again as of tomorrow, so stay tuned. Again, if you're a channel member, you have access to these film sessions. Let me know in the comment sections of the film sessions who you want to see next, because I'm not doing it in any particular order. Rich requested Jaquez Ezzard and Armani Rogers, so those will be next. So again, let me know in the comments who you want to see next and we'll get those done. And without further ado, man, let's get it. All right, so starting with the offense, overall, Ron Rivera said that he wants to see the rest of the playbook grow, and he expects to see a step forward and for the unit to step forward. And you can expect that. I mean, with a quarterback with a bigger arm, which we're about to talk about right now, and with more deadly weapons in the offense, we should expect to see a more potent offense overall. And it's looking like it's already starting. First of all, already the offense just looks better than the defense. And it's kind of hard to tell. I mean, it's OTAs. The defense can't really do much. You're not even really supposed to hit guys, so like we can't really tell if the offense is just that much better or if the defense is just worse. Now of course Chase Young isn't out there, but overall I would say if anything our team should be just as good as last year, if not a little bit better, especially with everybody starting to gain more chemistry together and learning Jack Del Rio's defense, and just another year of running the Jack Del Rio defense under their belt. Should be better communication, all of that type of stuff. So we'll see how that goes, but as of right now the offense is dominating the defense. Running back JD McKissic already said, quote, he's doing an incredible job. He learned the offense pretty fast. He's smart. He's intelligent. He's getting the ball out. He can move pretty well in the pocket too. He's looking like that young Carson again, unquote. Scott Turner also talked about it, basically talking about how he doesn't want Carson Wentz to force anything. He's trying to instill into all of the quarterbacks, not even just Carson Wentz, that there's no need to force a big play. If it's there, take it. He said, quote, try to impress on him all the time like, hey, I can call another shot, unquote. And just a reminder, I mean, with Carson Wentz out there balling, Jahan Dotson out there balling right now, there isn't even a Terry Mclaurin out there. So the offense is beating the defense right now without Terry Mclaurin in practices. But again, it's OTAs. Again, the defense can't even run full throttle. They can't even hit guys. So we'll see how this looks once it's like training camp. And we'll definitely see how it looks compared to other teams when we get to the regular season. And maybe even a little bit in the preseason. But as of right now, it's really hard to tell. But again, the offense is definitely getting the better of the defense so far. I mean, there was one play in 9-on-9s. Carson Wentz hit Jahan Dotson for another touchdown. This time over the middle on a skinny post. Fitted in perfectly between two defenders, Bobby McCain being one of them. And people are basically saying that Bobby McCain may have been better off taking a better angle / route to the ball. But either way, Carson Wentz took advantage of Bobby McCain's mistake, fitting it in between two defenders, another touchdown. That's 2 days in a row that Carson Wentz and Jahan Dotson have connected for nice big play touchdowns. The one yesterday was bigger. I mean, it was like a 75-yarder, but this one was really nice as well, and in 9-on-9s. And of course, I mean, even though the one today wasn't as far down the field yardage-wise, you can still see the arm strength and the ability to zip it down before the coverage can close in on the receiver. I mean, as soon as receivers are open, the ball is there. And that's one big advantage that Carson Wentz has over the previous quarterbacks we've had here with Taylor Heinicke, Alex Smith, and all of those guys, that the ball gets there quicker. It's not, I mean, having a big arm also helps, of course, with attacking deep down the field, which I'm really excited about with all of these deep threats that we have throughout the entire receiving group. But also, even things short and intermediate, the ball's going to get there quicker when you have a rocket arm, and that makes it harder to cover. And that brings me to the point that Scott Turner talked about, how there aren't any limitations to what he can do with directing the offense with Carson Wentz at the quarterback position. Remember, we have not been utilizing the entire 100% of Scott Turner's playbook since he's been here. The quarterbacks that he's had throwing for him haven't been able to take advantage of that, whether it be due to inexperience, inaccuracy, or last year most notably inaccuracy, and for the most part just a lack of arm strength. Scott Turner and Ron Rivera both envision the offense taking another step with Wentz leading the offense, especially when it comes to stretching the field vertically. And then it's not even just Carson. Sam Howell so far looks good. They're saying he's communicating motions and shifts, and he's able to hit guys underneath very efficiently and well, and it's not even just only check down. So Sam Howell is a little bit further in his development than people thought. Of course, this does not mean he's even necessarily the backup over Taylor Heinicke. Sam Howell is still third on the depth chart, and with good reason, but he's progressing and he's learning the mental part of the offense. He's getting a lot of the little stuff down, which is the stuff I'm the most worried about with him, because it's not the arm talent at all. It's everything mental with him. Can he learn the NFL? Can he learn Scott Turner's offense? Can he get up to speed? All of that type of stuff. And so far, he's doing everything he can. He's on a good trajectory there. Also, people are already talking about how Howell's arm already dominates Taylor Heinicke's arm. You can see it on the field. It's Carson, Sam Howell with comparable arm strength, and then it's a big gap in Taylor Heinicke. So when all three of those guys are out there throwing, Taylor Heinicke is the one that looks crazy because he's the only one without a really strong arm. So I really feel sorry for him. And then to make matters worse, he was nearly picked off along the sideline by Danny Johnson, and Chris Russell of the Locked On Commanders podcast basically said to say Heinicke has struggled a bit today would actually be pretty fair. So it sounds like Taylor Heinicke has looked like the worst quarterback so far, but it's OTAs, it's early, we'll see. Maybe, hopefully by preseason, Sam Howell looks good enough to where he's the backup and then Taylor Heinicke's the third string guy. Because, I mean, ultimately, Taylor Heinicke's always going to be who he is. So if Taylor Heinicke's the third stringer, it's not because he got worse. That just means Sam Howell got way better and progressed past him. If Sam Howell is the third stringer, then we're pretty much just back to step one with Taylor Heinicke as the backup, which isn't a bad thing because we're expecting Sam Howell to probably take at least a year to prepare for him to even be ready to play in the regular season. But again, if Sam Howell is your direct backup to Carson Wentz as we enter the regular season, that is great news because, again, it's not like Taylor Heinicke got worse. It's just that Sam Howell just got that much better. Now moving on to the wide receivers, of course, Jahan Dotson has been the star of the show. Again, we would love to have Terry McLaurin out there, of course, but this is giving guys like Jahan Dotson plenty of opportunities to go out there and show what he can do. And as of right now, without Terry McLaurin out there, he's literally the number one receiver being covered by the number one corner, the number one defense, and he's still out there balling, which makes me very happy. If Terry McLaurin were out there, you know, and if Jahan Dotson were still balling, I would be a little bit more skeptical because we could be like, well, the defense is focusing on McLaurin in practice, so Jahan Dotson's able to eat off of the fact that Terry McLaurin's out there distracting the defense. But Terry McLaurin's not out there and Jahan Dotson is still balling out. That also means he's getting more looks, he's getting more targets, and I mean, I'm loving what I'm hearing out of our first round pick right now. I love the fact that him and Carson Wentz are gaining so much chemistry right now. I mean, as of right now, because Carson Wentz just got here, Carson Wentz has better chemistry with Jahan Dotson already more than Terry McLaurin. Hopefully Terry McLaurin can get back as soon as possible, but as of right now, if Terry McLaurin were to return to practice tomorrow, Carson Wentz would still look more comfortable throwing to Jahan Dotson than Terry McLaurin, who's supposed to be our number one receiver. But again, Jahan Dotson is getting so many looks, so many targets because there is no Terry McLaurin out there. And there's a lot of other really talented receivers, including Curtis Samuel, a healthy Curtis Samuel, but Jahan Dotson looks like the number one receiver out there lately. And people have just been talking about him left and right, saying he's impressing them more and more each and every day, getting better every day, all kinds of stuff. And that's just the reporters and media members talking about him. Today marks the 5th on-field OTA practices, and guys like Scott Turner already love him. saying, quote, he's done a nice job. He came in and he looks like it's not too big for him. He's playing fast. He's consistently getting separation and he's catching the ball, unquote. J.D. McKissic also said that he was surprised by how polished Dotson already was as a rookie. He said, quote, just to see a young rookie come in and be so developed. He's developed. He's running crisp routes. I'm very shocked by how quickly he's learned the offense. He's doing incredible. He's learned the offense, flying around and making plays, unquote. So is it time to go ahead and buy some Jahan Dotson stock before it skyrockets and he ends up being our best fantasy receiver? Moving on to the tight ends, just a short update. Of course, like I already said in previous videos, Antonio Gandy-Golden looks bigger in practice for sure. He definitely added some weight to make that move to tight end with a realistic chance of making the roster. Who knows if he will, because there's so much talent in the tight end room. Like I've already talked about, this is my most exciting position group, most notably because, like, I mean, of course the quarterback position matters the most, but we already know Carson Wentz is the starter, and I can assume that Taylor Heinicke is going to be the backup. But even if somehow dethrones Taylor Heinicke, there's like pretty much no shot of him dethroning Carson Wentz unless there's an injury. And so the tight end position is the most interesting because we don't know who's going to be even the top 3 guys, let alone all of the guys that make the roster. Are we going to keep 4 or 5? Because there's just so much talent. I mean, I can go on and on about all of the guys on the list. And y'all already know Armani Rogers, the undrafted free agent, is one of my favorite players in the tight end group. One of my favorite players in the entire team that I'm most excited about seeing his development. So, I mean, again, I can go on and on about that. So who knows if Antonio Gandy-Golden is even going to make the team, but I am happy that he's taking this seriously. He's gained a lot of weight and he looks like he has an honest shot of making the team if he can definitely learn how to block better, of course. And of course, Sam Howell and Taylor Heinicke each connected with Cole Turner, the rookie tight end from Nevada, who certainly stands out frame-wise. After one of the catches, new tight end coach Juan Castillo was working with Turner hard for a while, but not sure exactly what it was about, and that comes from Russellmania again, Chris Russell from the Locked On Commanders podcast. So basically, Cole Turner's out there making plays no matter which quarterback is throwing on the ball. Carson Wentz yesterday, today Sam Howell and Taylor Heinicke, and I mean, apparently he's still making some type of mistakes that tight end coach Juan Castillo feels the need to like talk to him about, but the fact that he's out there making plays and Juan Castillo has the type of expectations for him that they're still correcting things as they go, even after positive plays, I like that. Stay on his head, make him a better player no matter what. Moving on to the running backs, J.D. McKissic spoke about why he made that move from 41 to 23 as soon as he could. He basically said that he always wanted the number but couldn't get it before because of his locker room status. And then as soon as he found out that 23 opened up on Twitter, he immediately jumped on it. And I think that's funny that he found out 23 was open on Twitter and then he went in and made whatever call he had to go ahead and get that number before somebody else could. Also, Brian Robinson was motioned outside at receiver one play. Now the ball went to Erickson, the returner guy that we're bringing in to be a primary punt returner, kick returner if he ends up making the team. I don't expect him to contribute much at receiver, but of course we're going to throw him the ball as much as possible in the offseason to see if he can. But I think he's basically just going to be the DeAndre Carter replacement and nothing much more than that. But I thought it was really interesting to hear that Brian Robinson was flexed outside at receiver on the play. Now granted, he didn't get the ball, but I like the fact that Scott Turner's trying things with him. Also, AG yelled and told Robinson to tell them to throw it up for him. Like, be selfish. Tell them to throw me this ball. I know I'm a running back. I know I'm known as a power back, but you got me flexed out wide. Throw the ball to me and see what I can do. I love the leadership from Antonio Gibson there as well. And then speaking of Antonio Gibson, apparently they were able to run the ball with ease. I mean, one play, there was a gaping hole made by the offensive line. Antonio Gibson planted his foot, turned upfield for a very nice gain. And again, the defense can't really do much with the OTAs. They can't hit too hard. So again, it's really hard to assess how good or bad the defense has been with the offense dominating OTA practices so far. But that's really good to hear that the offense aligned with new starters at left guard and right guard, and technically center as well with Chase Roulier out. Wes Schweitzer is starting at center. You have Andrew Norwell at left guard, Trey Turner at right guard, and it sounds like we're picking right up where we left off, having a top 5 offensive line last year before the injuries hit. So that's really good. Speaking of offensive line, Cosme said that John Moskowitz is a very demanding man. He has a high standard for his players, and they all respect him for it. And that must be why our offensive line, no matter what injuries happen, happen. No matter how many guys we change out, let go, bring in, it's still one of our most consistent units on the team. It's crazy. Also, Samuel Cosme said that losing Brandon Sheriff sucked, but it's been a blessing having a guy like Trey Turner come in to replace him. So again, that just lets you know that Trey Turner is the one at right guard because Samuel Cosme is your right tackle. And also that just reaffirms the fact that Trey Turner and Andrew Norwell are coming in and balling out like nothing's happened. They haven't missed a step. Moving on to the defense, starting with the defensive line, Phidarian Mathis apparently had a really good day. Now, it was against backup offensive linemen, but he broke through 2 players and was held by both of them, and it was just basically impressive quickness off of the line of scrimmage. It was as if he knew the snap count, broke through, and both guys had to hold him, and either way, he still went through easily. So, Phidarian Mathis showing a little something. And I guess that's a good thing. The fact that he's out there with the backup defensive lineman and he's performing that well shows that we still do have some depth. Now, we'll see what happens with the Daron Payne situation, but at least for 2022, Phidarian Mathis off the bench sounds like a win. We still love to have Tim Settle and or Matt Ioannidis, but it seems like we may not miss much of a step there. We'll have to see, though, because, of course, Phidarian Mathis was a way higher draft pick than either of those guys, so we should expect more out of him than Tim Settle and Matt Ioannidis. Also, just to let y'all know, Montez Sweat is back. He was running with the ones, and everybody's saying that it was very obvious that Montez Sweat was back. I mean, the defensive line just looked better than they looked the previous days before Montez Sweat returned to practice today. Also, Daron Payne, of course, is not doing team drills. He's doing everything on the side. He's doing a lot of individual work, but when it comes to team drills, he sits out with his contract situation. He's basically doing what Terry McLaurin's doing, but instead of just completely not coming to practice at all, he's there for the beginnings, during the warm-ups, during the individual things, and when they break off in the team drills, he just sits off to the side, which I respect, man. I respect that. At least he's there. And so basically, when everybody breaks in the team drills, he just does extra conditioning. It's not even like he's just sitting on the side watching, bored, not doing anything. When they break off in the team drills, he's still being productive. So shouts out to Daron Payne for handling this like a professional should, man. Shouts out to him. And then, of course, we have a lot of Chase Young updates, like I already said. Overall, everybody that was on the side field were Logan Thomas, Sammis Reyes, Chase Roulier, and Tyler Larson. Those are all of the guys recovering from injuries. And then, of course, you have Terry McLaurin, who isn't there. And then you have Daron Payne, who isn't doing team drills. And then you have Chase Young, who is finally at the facility and rehabbing inside. Other than that, everybody else is there and fully healthy, fully committed, 100% down. So that's really good. That's great participation. None of the secondary players are missing, so Jack Del Rio's not upset. That's good. Also, Chase Young spoke to reporters. He said that he's running and has squatted a substantial amount of weight and everything is going as planned. He said, quote, "I want to be back as fast as I can, but won't put a timetable on it. I'm getting better fast," unquote. So we should be optimistic, but of course there's no timetable. And it also sounds like there's no all-in for week 1 type of mess going this year. He's just going with the flow. He's not putting any unrealistic expectations, and he's just working, man. So I appreciate that. Chase Young expounded upon the fact that he was rehabbing in Colorado, and that was a plan formulated by Washington's trainers and doctors. And he's starting to run now and feels good. So 2 things from there. First of all, I already knew that he was working out in Colorado, already reported that, but apparently that was something that the Washington trainers and doctors told him to do. That wasn't just something random Chase Young found on his own and started doing. That was requested and advised by the Washington Commanders themselves. And also, very important, he's starting to run and he feels good. So that's really good news right there. He's not ready to play a game yet, but he's running. He also doesn't have a leg brace out there as well. Also, Charles Leno said about Chase Young's rehab, quote, "I don't care if he does rehab in Indonesia as long as he's ready for Sundays," unquote. And that's another good point. I wasn't worried about the fact that he was practicing in Colorado instead of with the team. And even before I knew that that was advised by the Washington Commanders themselves. But even if it wasn't, I mean, as long as he's ready to play, I'm happy. Rivera also spoke about Chase Young, saying that he's really happy that he's in town for OTAs, although it's still too early to tell when he'll be ready for the field. So Chase Young and Ron Rivera, neither of those guys are putting a timetable on the recovery so far, but I do expect him to be ready for week 1. I'm definitely more nervous about Logan Thomas and Chase Roulier being ready week 1 than Chase Young. Also, Ron Rivera said that Chase Young's ACL is on track for his rehab, but declines again to lay out a timeline. So he is on track, and I don't know what that on track means, and we still don't exactly know when he should be ready, but I think we're good. And again, Ron Rivera just kept emphasizing how happy he was to have Chase Young just there as a presence. First of all, that means he's in meetings, so he's doing all the mental reps, he's all that type of stuff. And that's why Logan Paulson on Craig Hoffman's podcast said that Chase Young being back is a very big deal, even if he's not able to actually go out there and play with the guys. Just being out there for mental reps, learning the playbook, learning how Jack Del Rio may want to tweak a few things, that's really huge. And then also, he's the spirit of the team. Apparently, he walked out on the practice field in street clothes, still recovering from his knee injury, of course, but he was out there supporting his teammates. It was even said that he was definitely the loudest player on the field by far. The loudest guy on the field supporting the defense. I mean, literally as soon as he stepped onto the field, he was shouting out, "Let's go Tez" to Montez Sweat as the 11-on-11 team drills began. So that's your spirit of your defense right there. The spirit of your team. He's out there, and I'm expecting nothing less from him, even if he can't play. Moving on to the linebackers. The coaches continue to move guys around, and Jamin Davis played with both the first and second team units, so he's getting a lot of snaps. But apparently, according to JP Finlay, there were times where Jamin Davis wouldn't be on the field and it would be Cole Holcomb and David Mayo with the ones. But Jamin Davis did get a good amount of reps with the ones and the twos. Also, Drew White shot up the gap and got to Sam Howell immediately on a blitz one time. And you never know, he may be on a sneaky track to make the 53-man roster. We'll see. This linebacker group has a lot of talent. We'll see how this develops. I still feel like we need to bring in a veteran Mike linebacker because I'm not okay with David Mayo starting for us. But we'll see how that goes. Moving on to the corners. Again, Kendall Fuller with the only pick today against Carson Wentz. And it came from him jumping a slant route. So that was more of like a mental accomplishment. Reading the play, reading the route, reading Carson Wentz and jumping on the ball. That's a veteran move. That's a great play right there. I'm expecting big things out of Kendall Fuller this year. And I think it's really funny too because they ran the same route right afterwards and Carson Wentz was able to connect. The offense made a mistake. The defense capitalized on it. And of course the defense goes crazy. Everybody running up and down the field yelling. And then the immediate play afterwards, they run that exact same play, route, throw, and everything, and they fix it and they connect. And I like that from the offense. You make a mistake, you throw an interception, fix that right now. Run that right back. We're going to get this to work. Also, in 11-on-11s, Benjamin St-Juste was playing in the slot, starting at the slot. Remember, Danny Johnson played pretty well in the slot last year, especially with Benjamin St-Juste gone with the head injury and all of the stuff that was going on last year that caused him not to play for like the majority of the season, even after he looked pretty good early in the season as a rookie. Like I always say, playing quarterback, playing cornerback, both of those positions are the hardest ones to transition from college to the NFL. Definitely the hardest learning curves. And so the fact that Benjamin St-Juste already looked good right out the gate in the offseason and then even looked pretty decent in the regular season, even though, I mean, all of our corners were getting cooked. And of course he was as well, but he was looking like one of the more consistent guys out of him, Kendall Fuller, and William Jackson. So I'm really optimistic about his future on this team, but I definitely personally see him as an outside corner. Don't really see him in the slot. I don't think he has enough agility and short area quickness to play in the slot. He's kind of the guy, he needs to use the boundary to help him. I don't really see him being in the middle of the field shutting down a slot receiver. Again, I don't think he's quick enough for that, but we'll see. I like the fact that they're at least trying it in OTAs because who knows? Maybe he's quick enough now. Maybe he can make up for what he's lacking physically with quickness, with mental quickness, and then maybe he can actually start in the slot for us. I don't know. But it does kind of suck that our three best corners are obviously outside corners, including Benjamin St-Juste. So they're trying to give him work in the slot, and they're going to see how it goes. And then safety-wise, the only notable news, of course, Bobby McCain got beat earlier by Jahan Dotson for a touchdown from Carson Wentz. But also, positive news, with Landon Collins gone, he's normally the guy that's mentoring all of the safeties. Cameron Curl is the one that's stepping up to mentor all of the younger guys. So I love to hear that. Cameron Curl is stepping up as a veteran. I still look at him as like a really young player, especially because he's so underrated around the NFL. But I love the fact that he's stepping up and he's becoming that leader in the secondary with Landon Collins gone. Moving on, it's been reported that the House Oversight and Reform Committee have invited Dan Snyder and Roger Goodell to testify on June 22nd. And of course, there's like a whole essay of an announcement. But Congress asked Snyder and Goodell to testify. They say, quote, "We must have transparency and accountability, which is why we are calling on Mr. Goodell and Mr. Snyder to answer the questions they have dodged for the last 7 months," unquote. And what's really interesting is that, I mean, of course, Dan Snyder and Roger Goodell, I mean, they're invited to testify, but they're not required to. But some people on the inside say that Dan Snyder and Roger Goodell could be issued a subpoena to appear if they refuse the quote unquote invite. And then of course their testimonies would be under oath. So we'll see where this goes. Again, I don't really hurt myself with the getting rid of Dan Snyder type of stuff right now. When it happens, it happens. But I mean, it's just so many things, so many strikes have gone against him and he still hasn't been forced to sell the team. We'll see if this is the one that causes it, but I wouldn't get my hopes up for sure. But again, I just want to report everything that happens throughout the Washington organization, even if it's silly stuff like this. But again, I don't like to dwell on it too long. Just wanted to report that to y'all, give y'all everything I know, and keep it pushing. And then lastly, just to update y'all, the Commanders technically tomorrow will have another almost $12 million worth of cap space to work with after Landon Collins is officially released as a post-June 1st cut. So he'll officially be cut. We'll gain an extra $12 million worth of cap space, which will put us almost at $20 million worth of cap space. Will that be enough to sign Terry McLaurin long term? We'll see. It's still a confusing situation because, I mean, if we're technically talking about an extension that's worth like 20-something million dollars a year, that wouldn't even affect this year's cap space, would it? I'm not sure. We'll see. Either way, get Terry McLaurin's deal done. Again, like I reported yesterday, John Comm, based on everything he's heard, everything he's seen, his past experiences reporting for the organization, he feels like the Terry McLaurin deal will get done before training camp. We'll see. Definitely hope so. I'm optimistic about it. They already paid Jonathan Allen long term. They gave Logan Thomas the money he wanted. So we'll see if Terry McLaurin's next in line. And then hopefully after you get Terry McLaurin done, we can get Daron Payne done. But we'll see, because Terry McLaurin is definitely the priority. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Please leave a like if you liked it, if you learned anything. And as always, man, I appreciate all of the support, man. Shouts out to all of my sponsors, especially my Pro Bowl sponsors, name you see scrolling on the screen right now. Again, if you're not a sponsor, go become one so you can get these film sessions for our entire draft class, including some of the undrafted free agents. If I have time, I'll try to get to all of them. So man, make sure y'all stay tuned. I'll catch y'all later. I'm out.